Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O my Lord, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udirayet. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayana, unto Narayana Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana-timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Okay, so we are reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 18. Oops. And we're reading texts 48 and 49 today. So 1, 18, 48, and 49. Almost to the end of this chapter. Got one more verse left after this. Okay, so text 48. Tiraskrita vipralabda Shapta kshipta hata api Nashyatat pratikorvanti Tadbhakta prabhavopihi. Okay, synonyms together. Tira krita, being defamed. Vipralabdha, being cheated. Shapta, being cursed. Kshipta, disturbed by negligence. Hata, or even being killed. Api, also. Na, never. Ashya, for all these acts. Tat, them. Pratikorvanti, counteract. Tat, the Lord's. Bhakta, devotees. Prabhava, powerful. Api, although. He, certainly. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The devotees of the Lord are so forbearing that even though they are defamed, cheated, cursed, disturbed, neglected, or even killed, they are never inclined to avenge themselves. Purport. Rishi Shamika also knew that the Lord does not forgive a person who has committed an offense at the feet of a devotee. The Lord can only give direction to take shelter of the devotee. He thought within himself that if Maharaj Parikshit would counter-curse the boy, he might be saved. But he knew also that a pure devotee is callous about worldly advantages or reverses. As such, the devotees are never inclined to counteract personal defamation, curses, negligence, etc. As far as such things are concerned in personal affairs, the devotees do not care for them. But in the case of their being performed against the Lord and his devotees, then the devotees take very strong action. It was a personal affair, and therefore Shamika Rishi knew that the king would not take counteraction. Thus, there was no alternative than to place an appeal to the Lord for the immature boy. It is not that only the Brahmanas are powerful enough to award curses or blessings upon the subordinates. The devotee of the Lord, even though he may not be a Brahmana, is more powerful than a Brahmana. But a powerful devotee never misuses the power for personal benefit. Whatever power the devotee may have is always utilized in service towards the Lord and his devotees only. And then text 49. The sage thus regretted the sin committed by his own son. He did not take the insult paid by the king very seriously. Purport. The whole incident is now cleared up. Maharaj Parikshit's garlanding the sage with a dead snake was not at all a very serious offense, but Shringi's cursing the king was a serious offense. The serious offense was committed by a foolish child only. Therefore, he deserved to be pardoned by the Supreme Lord, although it was not possible to get free from the sinful reaction. Maharaj Parikshit also did not mind the curse offered to him by a foolish Brahmana. On the contrary, he took full advantage of the awkward situation, and by the great will of the Lord, Maharaj Parikshit achieved the highest perfection of life through the grace of Srila Shukadev Goswami. Actually, it was the desire of the Lord, and Maharaj Parikshit, Rishi Shamika, and his son Shringi were all instrumental in fulfilling the desire of the Lord. So none of them were put into difficulty because everything was done in relation with the Supreme Person. Okay, so we'll start with text 48. Talk about that purport a little in that verse. The devotees of the Lord are so forbearing that even though they are defamed, cheated, cursed, disturbed, neglected, or even killed, they are never inclined to avenge themselves. Okay, so really important point Prabhupada makes in the purport here is that devotees are never inclined to counteract personal defamation, curses, negligence, etc. As far as such things are concerned, in personal affairs, the devotees not care for them. But in the case of their being performed against the Lord and his devotees, then the devotees take very strong action. So we could see in these both of these purports, it's talking about everything being the will of the Lord, right? Krishna makes all the arrangements. And so whatever happens in our life, it's allowed by Krishna or even arranged by Krishna. Sometimes there may be two people who have a similar karma. So somebody might have the karma that they're meant to get mugged, and someone might have the karma that they want to mug somebody. So Krishna puts them together. It takes the mugger and puts him with the person who's meant to be mugged. And so the arrangement is made, but as Krishna says in the Gita, he's not responsible. He's not responsible for us, the way we behave in this world and doing things to try to get the fruits of our actions, right? He allows it to happen, but he's not responsible for it. He just arranges people to be put together. So so they say when someone takes shelter of the Lord, he takes personal charge of their life, right? So when you're not taking shelter of the Lord, it's not that he's not in control, but he kind of lets his officers just take charge. You're part of the material world. There's a system here. There's people, there are people in different administrative positions, and they'll take care of whatever's meant to happen to you. Though Krishna is always there in the heart. But as Krishna says in the Gita also that yayatamam prabhajante is as however you approach me or however you surrender to me, I'll reciprocate accordingly. So if someone wants to ignore Krishna or be separate from Krishna, he just doesn't, he says, okay, I'll leave you alone. And then kind of let the modes take over, the universal administrators take over and just do whatever needs to be done. But when someone takes shelter of the Lord, when they turn to him, then he takes direct care of them. So although everything goes on under his arrangement, you see in this situation with Maharaj Parikshit, this is an arrangement for him to go back to Godhead, right? He's just arranging this whole thing. And he's arranging it in a perfect way that, for example, it's a child that curses him, so we could forgive the child, and so on. He made all these different arrangements, as Prabhupada is explaining in the purport. So I want to focus on this point, and I want to ask a question to those in Zoom. What are some different reasons why a devotee is not vengeful? What do devotees know about reality? And what do they know about reality that makes them not vengeful in these situations when as Prabhupada said, when it's a personal affair, when something happens to you, why would you not be vengeful? And if you are vengeful, what is it that you're missing in our philosophy?
We all are parts and parcel of the Lord. We know that. That's why we are not.
Okay, so we're part and parcel. What does that mean? Let me.
We all belong to Krishna. Krishna loves all of us.
Okay, so what? Why?
Don't have to
Why
hate
should that?
anyone.
Why should that make me not vengeful?
Vengeful means I didn't understand, Prabhu.
Hmm?
Vengeful means what?
Oh, when you take vengeance, so someone does something to you and you get back at them. So if
That's what I thought.
someone comes and robs me, then I go and rob them, like to get back at them, or I go and attack them to get vengeance.
That's not going to please Krishna
Why not?
because he is equal to everyone, right? He's like, if somebody hurt us, if we hurt them, then it's not going to help anyone, right? The devotees know that, I think.
It's not going to help what?
I mean, devotees knows that if I want to take revenge, that's not going to please Krishna and that is not going to help us anyway.
Okay, so then let's take it a little step further. And if anybody else wants to jump in here, why doesn't it please Krishna and why won't it help us? If someone does something wrong to me, I'm just getting back at them. So wouldn't Krishna say, yeah, they did something to you, you deserve to do something back. Why wouldn't he be pleased?
Whatever is happening to us is a part of our own karma. They are just the instrument.
Exactly, yeah. It's our karma. If something happens to us, it's our karma. It's meant to happen to us. So what is the purpose of karma besides yeah, what's the purpose of karma? Why is there action and reaction?
And in our previous classes, we heard that we should not think like Shringi also, it's like it's acting according to Krishna's desire. How can we think that that is also, it's like Parikshit Maharaj, whatever happened to him, it's Krishna's desire. But whatever Shringi is doing, it's not Krishna's desire. Something like that I heard in our previous Bhagavatam classes last week, I think.
Well, I'll get to that question in a bit, but I'm speaking on general principle. Like we know, okay, Prabhupada's explaining in the purport, this was all the arrangement of Krishna. As I said, like someone approaches Krishna and he takes direct control. But just speaking on general principle, especially if we're speaking to the general public and we're explaining karma, what would we explain to them is the purpose of it? Why does that system even exist?
To maintain the balance in the world, because just like in government also we see in current world also, right? If there is no system for the criminals to punish, or just that's why in US it's called as a house of correction or something like that. They don't say prison house because they need to get what is the understanding that whatever they do they have a reaction for that. So to keep that balance, maybe we have that karma thing, because if there is no reaction, then everybody will do whatever they want to do and nobody will get punished or for anything wrongdoing.
Yeah, exactly. You have to understand how you're not supposed to behave. Now, we could take it a step further. We could say, well, yeah, but what about when you get good karma? Well, that binds you to the world. That's a whole other thing. Is that good karma binds you to this world? So we want to even go above that. But if we want to start at this super base, like caveman level, um, misbehaving, there has to be a consequence. Otherwise, we don't know what's wrong with it. And so we can see, for example, if you see in society, when someone commits crimes or when you see like someone getting arrested and they just trying to convince the police that they're above the law, you realize like maybe they weren't raised properly, right? So raised properly means you teach your children when they've done something wrong, there's actual consequences for doing something wrong. And if there aren't consequences for children who've done something wrong, then they grow up entitled, right? They grow up thinking that I could do whatever I want. There should never be any consequences, which of course racks up their charges. When people get arrested who are entitled, they end up getting charged for, not only the whatever violation they committed, but then like resisting arrest and then attacking an officer. They usually totally freak out because they're not accustomed to there being reactions. Like, what do you mean I'm being arrested? That can't be. I can't ever be held accountable for anything that I do. It doesn't matter what I do. And so we have to learn that there's consequences to our behavior. And so what happens when we take vengeance? So knowing all that, knowing that we have to learn something, then we go back to the question, why not take vengeance? Why not, when something's done to us, we take vengeance? Based on what we just discussed.
So we
What?
hurt ourselves only. Like let's say, for example, if somebody does bad to you, let's say your neighbor or something, right? But if you are taking law in your hand, you will yourself get punished. So let higher authority take care of it. Like in devotees case, let Krishna takes care of it. Like so.
Okay, that's a good point. What else, based on what we just discussed? What else? What are we missing when we take vengeance? What philosophical point are we missing that we just talked about? So if someone does something to us and we take vengeance, what we're saying is, there's no lesson to be learned here. I don't deserve this. This shouldn't have happened to me. And I'm gonna let them know this shouldn't have happened to me. And I'm gonna show them why this shouldn't have happened to me. And then the lesson goes right over your head, right? If the point of karma is to teach us something and to show us consequences of things we may have done in the past, and we take vengeance, what we're saying is, I never did anything wrong. I don't deserve this to happen to me. Right. So we miss that whole lesson. The whole purpose of karma is to teach us that lesson, how to behave properly. So so that vengeance mentality means we're looking at others and we're never looking at ourselves. We never look at the situation and say, I wonder why this happened. Maybe I've done this to somebody. Maybe I've done something recently. Maybe I've offended a devotee recently. Maybe Krishna wants this to happen because it's going to bring me, to another uh, level of consciousness, right? Maybe he's trying to bring us up to the levels of consciousness. Maybe he wants me, even if nothing else, to learn how not to treat other people. It might even be that. It might even be that simple that he's just showing you, make sure there's so much you can learn when you have experiences. You can learn how to treat others better because now you know how it feels. I mean, I'd say karma is sensitivity training, right? It lets you know how it feels, how something feels. So if you're really self-reflective, you'll say, I'm going to make sure I never do that to anybody. But if you're not self-reflective, then you put someone on your list, right? You're on my vengeance list. You're one of the people I have to get back at. And all you do is spend your time looking at everybody else and what's wrong with them. And basically, it's atheism. Right? To be vengeful is to be atheistic because you're saying there's no one in control except me. And I'm going to make sure, as Hemanga said, like Krishna will take care of it. But we think, no, I'm going to make sure I take care of it. And so now this, of course, this is all around, as Prabhupada said, personal affairs. When it comes to other devotees, other people being attacked, then Prabhupada says we take strong action. So if I saw a devotee getting mugged, I would do something about it. I would go and stop the person and chase them down, even, tackle them, get the purse back, whatever. We would try to do something, or we'd call the cops and give them a description. And of course, there's another level to this. If I'm out on the street and I get mugged, I'm going to think, okay, I must have mugged somebody, or Krishna must want to take something away from me for some reason. However, I don't want this person to mug anybody else, so I'm still going to call the police and put in a description. Maybe I could even get, like, if I had money in my, and well, I don't carry a purse, but if they saw my wallet, I have money in my wallet. Well, that money can be used in Krishna's service. Perhaps I can retrieve it. Perhaps we can catch this guy or girl, whoever, whatever a person attacks us. Perhaps we can catch them and we can get the money back, and then we can make sure that money gets used in Krishna's service. So it's really about the mentality. right? Because you also don't want other people to get harmed. So you want to get that person off the streets. Same thing if something happens in a temple. Someone may insult you, attack you, whatever. You may think, oh boy, what they did to me was horrible. I don't want them to do this to anybody else. Let me go let everybody know there's someone in the temple who's behaving this way. But if you have the mentality, how dare they treat me that way? How dare they do it and then this? And I'm going to get back at them. And, I'm going to make sure that they feel the pain that I felt. And then it's a mentality of almost atheism. And we have to know that in the same way that Krishna, because we also think sometimes we could even think that, like what Hemanga was saying, Krishna will take care of it. That can still lead to a vengeful mentality where you think, yeah, Krishna's gonna make sure you get it. Krishna's gonna make sure it comes back to you. It's still in one sense, it's a vengeful mentality because you see Krishna as a tool for your vengeance, right? He'll get you. He'll get back at you. Rather than just seeing Krishna's hand and trying to teach us something. So we may still miss the lesson. So we want to know both things. We want to know that Krishna's in control of everything. If whatever they did that's wrong, that's between them and Krishna. Whatever happens, I'm not going to worry about that. All I'm going to do is try to learn what the lesson is and perhaps take action to make sure this doesn't happen to other people. So that's the idea, is that whole mentality that Krishna's in control. And the other major point here is that Prabhupada says, whoops, wait, what just happened? Why did it do that? Okay. He says, Shamika Rishi, he also knew that a pure devotee is callous about worldly advantages or reverses. So why, besides the karma thing, so it says my internet connection is unstable. Can you all still hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. What's another reason why a devotee is callous about worldly advantages or reverses? What do we know about the world, about reality, about our place in it, our connection with Krishna? What do we know that would make us not really care what happens down here?
We know that we are temporary, whatever is happening temporary, maybe.
Yeah, it's all temporary. And what else? Well, let me ask you this. Why is it temporary? Like, what is the purpose of this world?
To find our connection with the Lord and go back to Godhead.
Yeah, exactly. To reconnect with Krishna and go back to Godheads, because we're here because we made a mistake. We decided we might want to go try being God and it didn't work. So now it's just, stay focused on the goal. The goal is to go back to Godhead. The goal is not to stay in this world and try to make sure everybody knows how great we are and how they should never do anything wrong to us, and trying to correct and fix everybody else, unless they're coming to us specifically to ask us, how can I, behave appropriately or make advancement in my spiritual life. But it's not our job to come down and make everybody else pay for what they did or become better people unless they want to know from us. And so we should be concerned about our own spiritual lives. And so we know we don't belong here. We're in this body. This body's temporary. It's not our real identity. This isn't a permanent place. It's not where we're meant to be. And so if we're meant to go back to the spiritual world, well, let's just work on getting back there. Forget forget all these petty things that are going on here. Just as the world is like swirling around you, you just keep your eye on the goal. You chant your rounds as attentively as you can. You try to reconnect with Krishna. You do your service in consciousness of Krishna. You chant in consciousness of Krishna. You learn as much as possible about him. All of your time and effort. There should be, as Prabhupada said, an urgency, this sense of urgency to go back to Godhead. We don't want to be stuck in the cycle of birth and death. And Prabhupada said, in the Gita, it says a little advancement on this path can save one from the most dangerous type of fear. The most dangerous type of fear is coming back in oops, I'm echoing somehow, in a non-human birth, right? To come back in the animal kingdom. We don't want that. Why don't we want to come back in the animal kingdom? What's wrong with being a dog or a cat or something?
Because animals, they cannot think beyond their box of why I'm here. Atotho Brahma Jigyasa, right? Say they don't have that why power, why I'm doing this particular thing.
Yeah, exactly. They can't ask those questions. Why am I here? What do I need to do? What's, as Mars Pariksit said, what's the duty of man? And what's the duty of a man who's about to die? Um, especially. Prabhupada says in one of the purports, he says, we're all about to die. So it's actually one question. What's the duty of man who's about to die? So that the animals can't ask that question. So we don't want to go back into that cycle. So there's a sense of urgency that, look, okay, we took a wrong turn. We came to the material world. Let's just get back to the spiritual world. This is no place for us. We don't belong here. It's not natural. It's not natural that at any moment you could die. That's not natural. That's not natural for the soul. That can't be reality. It can't be reality that you can make all of these plans and you can be doing, in the middle of doing so, it's like you have a plan. Everybody's got their plan in life, right? It's like you go to school, then you're trying to get into college. And the reason why you're going to college is to get a career. And the reason you're getting a career is you could provide for but what happens if you're in college, you die? There, all your work down the drain, nothing. You've lost everything, right? You don't pick up where you left off in your next life. Except in Krishna consciousness, you pick up exactly where you left off. And so it's all just, we do what we can to keep body and soul together so that we can use the body to reconnect with Krishna and go back to Godhead. But the fact that at any moment it could just end and we lose everything, that can't be real life. Real life is the life in the spiritual world. The real life is the life of the soul, that there's never birth, death, old age, and disease. There's never this suffering. That's what Vaikuntha means, right? It's a place without suffering. That's reality. That's a moment where nothing can ever happen to the soul. The soul can never die. That's reality. And so we want to do everything with a sense of urgency. So if we're spending time making a list of people that we want to get back at, even if we make that list in our mind, we're thinking this person did this to me, this person did that, I got to get back at them it's all that time wasted. We could have just been learning a lesson. What is Krishna trying to show me? And then we could have put all of our energy into reading Bhagavatam. Oh, there's so many books Prabhupada translated that we can read, and you can read them over and over and over. I know one devotee, he reads Bhagavatam every year, the whole thing every year. He practically has the purports memorized. But to spend that time doing that instead of wasting it on petty vengeance and petty fault finding, just know we're just here, we're in this world, there's these things happening to us. We do the best we can to deal with them, but we focus on our hearing and chanting and serving. And serving also means serving the Vaishnavas. So, okay, it's 8:31. Does anyone have any points, comments, realizations about anything we discussed or anything in the purport?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I really like that point where you said vengeance is also not that, like where like you are asking Krishna to uh, uh um Krishna, now you take the vengeance on my behalf, right? It's like you should see, as devotee should see it's my karma. Thank you, Prabhu. Like that's a very enlightenment point.
Okay, oops, yeah, thank you. Okay, thank you. You're welcome. Anyone else? Any points or questions? Varuna, you have anything? No? Okay, if there are no further points or questions or comments or realizations, we'll end here. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you all for joining and
Hare
contributing.
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare